I'm curious if you guys have seen this as well. To me, there's a new epidemic of YouTube creators who are creating false narratives on YouTube and spreading misinformation that can be disguised as truth. Let me know in the comments below the different YouTubes and different stories you guys have heard. But recently, I've noticed an uptick in YouTubers who are creating these narratives that can't be really verified, or it's really blurry, the lines between truth and falsehood. And I'll prove it to you guys today. I came across a video on my homepage. Let me put my headphones on here. And if you don't know me, I'm Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. We train over 1 million producers around the world. So I'm going to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, French Montana, Young Thug, Lil Baby, Trippie Redd, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, long list of other folks. All right, so that's my angle in this YouTube thing, is just training music producers. But this came across my timeline, and I found it interesting because Earn Your Leisure just had what's called Invest Fest, which was one of the world's greatest investing events, especially in the United States. And so this popped up on my homepage from a creator called Echoes From Above. Now he's a younger YouTuber, so I'm giving him that regard in that he's still a young channel, so he probably doesn't know how to grow that well. So he's using other people's names. But what I'm going to do is use this as an example to show you guys all the misinformation that people are spewing, that they say it so confidently you would never really double check it or fact check it as a viewer. And so you have people in the comments that say they've been exposed as grifters thanks to people like Pocket Watching with JT. Somebody else writes, the black grifter space never stops amazing me. So creators like this, for example, are charging people up to then go to other people's channels and wreak havoc, spread more information in their comment section and really bash reputation. So I don't think people really understand as YouTube creators how influential they can be for the positive or the negative. Now, I'm going to really point out so much stuff in this video that as a casual viewer, you'd be just you wouldn't even second guess it. Now, this YouTube creator also seems to be using a green screen. That's definitely not the real background because the lighting doesn't match. It's like they're trying to call out other people for a falsehood. So just follow me here. All right, let's get started.
All right, so there are these content creators named Earn Your Leisure, and they were extremely popular in the hip-hop/black community. And basically, they're...
All right, he says in the hip-hop... Let me not stop it every 3 seconds. Let me let it run for a
All
little
right,
bit.
so there are these content creators named Earn Your Leisure, and they were extremely popular in the hip-hop/black community. And basically, they're guys who came up during the pandemic. They were talking about finances and how to build wealth and all that stuff, and their content was specifically geared towards black people, which you really don't see.
All right, so I'm going to stop it where I really find not full 100% truths. Now, he says the content was made for black folks. So for example, people who don't know the history of my channel, it started off with no webcam. It was just me giving music production advice with just my website at the bottom. It says busyworksbeats.com, for example. And it was just my voice showing people how to do stuff. Now, people, because I spoke properly, because I came from Villanova, one of the top schools in the US for sports and academics, they were thinking that I was white just because I had a proper education and I spoke properly. So they thought I was white. So they really valued all the information. Now, when I put a webcam on, they saw I was a black guy. They were all taken aback, oh, I didn't know you were black. Okay, so what I'm saying is that Earn Your Leisure can create finance content. It's the content that applies to all boards of life. Okay, it's not just one group. It's that when people see somebody that looks like them, they listen to them more. So you naturally attract people who look like you. So that kind of mistruth right in the beginning, in the first, 17 seconds of the video. I'm not going to stop everything about the video, but I really want to show you guys how much this happens on YouTube. And it's not just him. I'm just using him as an example because this is came across my timeline.
See a whole lot of content, at least finance content, that is specifically geared toward black people. So you had a bunch of these different influencers like them, Wall Street Trapper, and a few others who are specifically targeting that audience, and they blew up during the pandemic. Fast forward to now, their channel has pretty much died.
All right, so again, in the first 30 seconds, there's 2 mistruths. There's so many in here, it might take me 40 minutes to finish this video. I'm starting to realize. All right, he says their channel has died. So if you go to this website called viewstats.com, you could look up the stats of Earn Your Leisure. This is way more accurate than, Social Blade. So it says here, Earn Your Leisure gets about 3.6 million views in the month, okay? And which is up 836,000 views. Check. And then we go to Echoes From Above's channel, and it says he gets 190,000 views in the last 30 days, and he's up 24% or so. So he's growing his channel, basically. Okay, so he has 15,000 subscribers. So him growing 25% is not the same as an Earn Your Leisure growing 30% because they have 1.5 million subscribers. It's harder to grow when you're bigger than it is to grow when you're a smaller channel. So the fact that they're still growing at a higher rate than somebody who's smaller, kind of defeats his argument. So this website That ViewStats website has a weird audio issue, so we're just going to keep playing from YouTube.
Not doing so hot, and because their channel is not doing so hot, they are now blaming it on an influencer recession. That's what they're saying. That's their coat for their channel dying and them not figuring out how to pivot
dying.
and just keep up with the times and realize that what you were talking about in the pandemic is no longer popular here in 2024. So,
right, so he says finance content is no longer popular. Again, anybody with kind of common sense could kind of like rationalize and be like, how does that even make sense? I'm going to put him on 1.5 speed because I listen to stuff on YouTube at 2 speeds. So
let's go ahead and play some of this video, and I'm going to give my honest reactions. We're going to show the truth of why they're making these comments. Here we go.
Talked about it on me and Ian talked about it on my other show on Blackout, an influencer recession. I definitely feel like it's not over.
Yeah.
But I feel like if COVID was boom time for influencers and podcasts, everybody was just content because everybody's consuming content because there was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So
True.
But now everybody's back outside, and it has been.
That right there is a terrible argument because, yes, people are not inside anymore, but YouTube is as popular as ever. As a matter of fact, YouTube's more popular right now, or just as popular as it was in 2020 when people were in the house and couldn't go anywhere. This whole weird.
So we're not saying that YouTube is down. He's saying that from my perspective as a business owner who has studied this for years and years and years, at least 8 years minimum, is that I think what he's saying is that 2020 gave people so much launching pad energy because they got the stimulus, they got everybody's attention. And so you saw a lot of new influencers created during that time because everybody had time and they had to become an influencer because they didn't have a job to go to. So they had to create something out of nothing. And what did they do? They created TikTok accounts, YouTube accounts, Facebook accounts to try to influence the world. So in my opinion, what Rashad is talking about is that people had to go into social media because that was the only medium to actually get their message across. Even musicians lost tons of touring jobs around the world. And there was a huge explosion with Web3, for example, and NFTs and crypto and all that type of stuff. So they had to be digital. They had to make a digital imprint. And that's why you saw a lot of influencers. So I think what he's saying is that because that was the only door to walk through during 2020, everybody had to walk through that door. Now that the world is open back up, it's not the only door anymore. So I think this YouTuber might be just a little not understanding what Rashad was coming from, but it could also be that he's trying to create a narrative. So let me get off these websites. I just want to show you guys the stats real quick. Again, 3.6 million views in a month from Earn Your Leisure, okay, and 190,000 on his channel. So I'm not using that to bash the man, but he makes claims later that he's growing faster than Earn Your Leisure, which is funny to me. And also, when you guys make videos like this, use a website like Perplexity because it gives you sources to cite. Okay, so he said that YouTube is bigger now. Okay, it says during 2020, about 40% of US social media users expected to use YouTube more if they were confined at home, okay, during that time. So you guys got to like really fact check and look up data. Even Statista has statistics about this. Anybody on YouTube that does YouTube can tell you all their stats went up during 2020, especially March of 2020 when it first kicked off because there was nothing else to do but sit at home and watch YouTube. Okay, so like it's an anomaly, but that's the facts.
Thing that people had nothing to do, so they just sat at home and watched YouTube. People still watch YouTube. Like people will literally be in their car listening to a podcast, listening to YouTube. They will literally be at home listening to YouTube. Like,
but not as much. So again, I'm not trying to like stop at every little point he's making. It's that if I'm working, if I don't have a job to go to during the average day, and all I can do is go on YouTube and social media, that's what I'm going to consume my time and energy on. If now the average person has a job to go to, they can't get on YouTube for 8 hours a day like they used to. They have a job to go to. So his argument is kind of falling apart there.
I think has changed. People didn't just randomly stop watching YouTube because the pandemic ended. They just stopped watching you. That's what really happened to Earn Your Leisure. People are still watching the biggest creators in the world. People are still watching Mr. Beast. People are still watching Logan Paul's videos, iShowSpeed, Kai Cenat, Aiden Ross, whatever. Some of the biggest streamers in the world are still being watched and are just getting an insane amount of views. I'm talking about 100,000 live viewers. It's them who are no longer getting the same views that they got during the pandemic. And because of that, they're blaming it on an influencer recession, which that's just downright not true. We are not in an influencer recession.
That's not even what... So Ray Daniels, who is the host of that show, is asking Rashad from Earn Your Leisure. He said, I forget the exact question, but the context is that, when they're saying that there's an influencer recession, he's not saying that that's the reason why they're not getting views. He's saying that now is the time where we got to really focus in and lock in and the cream goes to the top, basically.
No longer getting the same views that they got during the pandemic. And because of that, they're blaming it on an influencer recession, which that's just downright not true. We are not in an influencer recession. Let's continue to play the video.
I think too much content being produced, right? Because it's kind of lost. It's, anything that happens if it gets oversaturated, it's not the same anymore. Sure. It's a little diluted now. So
I disagree with everything you're saying. And again, I would argue that, like, if you look at my main channel, right, Echoes from Above, basically what I am a YouTube commentary, drama channel, whatever you want to call it. I cover drama, right? If you look at my channel and you look at all the other channels, there are literally like over 100 channels that do exactly what I do, and there's plenty of views to go around. Why? Because this is a very...
Why? It's because commentary channels leech off of other people's content, and they just add stuff that can't even be verified as true over top, which this guy did, to get views. And it's like, we can make the videos, the actual content, and then people like this come and add their like sprinkles of misinformation on top and then say that they're making content. They didn't make content. They just sprinkled stuff on top as if they did something. They're literally just mirroring everything that we just already created for them to mirror, which the news does as well. So I'm not blaming, you know, the business model. It's just, what I'm saying is that when people claim this as like a niche or as like creating content, to me, you know, especially when it's not fact checked and there's no expertise behind it, it's really hard to claim that as like commentary, maybe social commentary, but not as factual commentary.
Very popular niche. Okay, this niche is extremely popular. So it doesn't matter if it's oversaturated. If your content is good, people will watch. There's literally like 4 different commentary YouTubers that I watch on a daily basis. I watch The Quartering, commentary YouTuber. I watch Pegasus, commentary YouTuber. I watch Jamari, commentary YouTuber.
Keep in mind, he says quality. What is quality without the content initially?
Good. What will always separate you in a market that is saturated is your content good? I would argue that the hip hop industry is saturated. There are so many different rappers making so many different music. Everybody wants to be a rapper. Everybody's got a song. Check out my new song. Check out my new single. There's all these new female rappers. But guess what? The ones that are making the good music are the ones that continue to be on top. So I just had to touch on that point as well, because that's another thing that I disagree with. Let me go ahead and show you guys Earn Your Leisure's channel.
So here's where he makes the claim. Here's where he makes the claim that his channel is better than Earn Your Leisure. When I just showed you guys, Earn Your Leisure gets 3.6 million views a month, and his channel gets 190,000.
Channel. You can clearly see, remember, they have 1.5 million subscribers. Their channel is dead. They don't get any views anymore. Look at this, 1,000 views. That's crazy. Let me literally.
So here's a misconception. You know, when your channel hits, because our channel hit, you know, past 1 million subscribers, and people have this like fairy tale land mindset that every YouTube video is supposed to be higher than the last video. Like, for example, every YouTube video you put out is supposed to have 50,000 views, or else it doesn't matter to the channel. I could tell you, I could show you videos where they literally became the top videos on my channel. It took maybe 176 days for a video to get all the way up to where it's supposed to be. And now it's one of the top performing videos in the last 30 days on my channel. And it's earned however many thousands, okay, in revenue. But it took 100 and something days. It's because we're doing what's called search-based content. Some channels are doing interruption-based, which is like they rely on people watching it right away because there's no long tail benefits. Like, for example, if I were, you know, I don't even know people's channels, like an entertainment channel, and I made a new video and it's about entertainment and it has no information, no value outside of comedy. Okay. The thing is, it peaks because people want to open up novelty, and then you'll get all your views in the beginning, and then it's like a stock that just crashes. It's like a pump and dump, if you guys are familiar with stock market stuff. And the difference is that Earn Your Leisure is like a long-term stock. Like they're like the S&P 500. It might not shoot up 50,000% in one day, but it will go up 5,000% over 10 years. And that's what the mindset that kind of plagues a lot of the YouTubers as well as people in the comments, because they don't know any better because they're not on YouTube. But a lot of young YouTubers I've noticed, they think that everything's supposed to be like shooting up into the sky with a billion gazillion views. And when your channel is search-based, it doesn't do that. And also keep in mind that Earn Your Leisure has a higher supply. So let's say they have 2,000 videos on their channel. My channel has 8,000, or excuse me, my channel has about 6,000 videos. So with 1.2 million people, they have 6,000 options. They're not going to always run to the newest option just because it's new. Like just because Nike releases shoes doesn't mean that the Air Forces are less popular or that the Air Maxes are less popular. Like whatever the new shoe is cool for the people who want new this, new that. But they still want to go to the classics, okay? And that's what happens on YouTube, is that when you make videos, maybe day 1 through 30 or 90 even, you're not going to see a huge bump in views. But once over time, it starts to build value with the community and it gets shared and all the back end stuff YouTube does, then it will, you know, traject into the future. So this is a big misconception that keeps getting spread on YouTube. And it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, whoever wins, wins. But still, when you have folks like this, I'm just saying like his channel, because I just found him on the YouTube homepage, you know, they charge up commenters, and those commenters might be in your community. And now they bring that energy to your community. You know, imagine you're in a romantic relationship, and then somebody lies on your name and said that, you know, you're a guy, for example. Let's say somebody lies on your name and says you did something with some girl, and now they told your girl about something that you didn't even do. And now your girl's mad that, the other person told them something that didn't exist. And now you have to deal with that energy from the outside. And this is what happens, unfortunately. And let me know if you guys have seen this on YouTube. This is just one case of many.
I'm not even trying to brag because, we're still growing here. We're trying to do our thing. But look at my channel and then look at theirs. I literally, on an average daily basis, get more views than Earn Your Leisure. And they have...
No, he might get, more views today. But like over time, does he get more views? Absolutely not.
Like 20x the subscribers I have, probably more than next. They got 1.5 million subscribers. Just look at this. 1,000 views, 2,000 views, 1,000 views, 2,000 views, 1,000 views. I mean, just look at this. Like, their channel's completely dead. And what I would say is, you shouldn't be blaming that on an influencer recession because we're not an influencer recession. I mean, look at this article right here from...
It just showed on the screen. They have 3,400 videos. If you have 1 million subscribers, everybody does not come to your channel for the same thing. And I think this is something else that young YouTubers don't understand is like young YouTubers who have like less than 50,000, you can have 50,000 of the same people. Let's say they like Nike shoes. When you want to grow from 50,000 to 100,000, now you're going to have Nike shoe lovers and then Adidas shoe lovers. So now it's like 50-50. And then when you want to go from 100 to 200,000, you might have Nike shoe lovers, Adidas shoe lovers, and then Puma. And then when you go from, what did I say, 100? I forgot the numbers. Let's say you go from 200 to 500,000. Now you have Nike, you have Adidas, you have Puma, and you have Reebok lovers. So you have to cater to all these like, segments of the market. It's not just one interest that builds a huge market. It's a lot of small interests. So the newer videos they put out, maybe they put up relationship videos or maybe they put up, specific house buying videos or stock markets. Everybody's not interested in the same exact thing. You're not going to get the same viewership when you have that large of an audience. And they have 3,000 videos, which means that the 1.5 million people that follow them, if they even get the notification that their videos are live. Because keep in mind, if you publish a lot on YouTube, I think the limit's about 3 notifications per day or per 72 hours. I forget the exact number, but YouTube does not just send out all your notifications all the time. And that's to preserve their costs. For example, they send out emails for you. A lot of people don't know that. So I know how much an email costs to send. So it's not cheap. So they're spending money to get people to watch your video. And so they have to make sure that the money they spend actually brings them back more money in ad revenue. And so that they can't just send notifications about every video that we do, or else it would cost them too much. It wouldn't make sense. All right. So again, the fact here, Earn Your Leisure has a higher supply. I think Echoes it was like either 400 videos. I can't remember. I would pull up the tab, but it was kind of laggy on that tab. I think it might tell me over here actually. So I'll let him continue.
On an influencer recession because we're not an influencer recession. I mean, look at this article right here from Business Insider. This article was written in July of 2024. This wasn't that long ago. According to this article, influencer marketing is booming in 2024 as brands are taking creators more seriously. So you have literally...
And then he pulls up a random, this is what I mean by like people who create narratives, they'll pull sites and information that don't even really speak to what people are talking about to try to verify it to make it look like he's fact checked. This article says influencer marketing is booming in 2024 as brands are taking creators more seriously. That doesn't mean there's more influencers. This just means people are adopting, influencer marketing in their marketing mix. It does not mean that there's more influencers at all. Okay. Like this doesn't prove a thing.
Influencer marketing booming for influencers because big name brands are taking content creators more seriously because they're getting so many views. But you have these guys whose channel have died are now coming out and saying, oh, we're in an influencer recession.
And then he's, again, I hate to pick a point, every little thing, but then he's saying brands are taking influencers more serious because they're getting more views. That's not even what brands are spending money to do. They're spending money to make more money. And, if you don't understand ads, I've run over $400,000 worth of ads. And I can tell you on Facebook, for example, what happened was during the Apple situation where they stopped the privacy or whatever and they couldn't track people, Facebook ads took a crap. They even were calling me to spend money. They're like, hey man, how can we get you to spend ad dollars? I knew something was up when the ad rep kept calling me over and over again to get me to spend money. I was like, something's up at the Facebook side. Something's up. And come to find out, it was because Apple had some privacy update or something where like you couldn't track people with the pixel, which was the whole game of Facebook. It was like you get people on your website, you track them with a pixel or cookie, and then you keep running ads until they buy your thing. That was basically how it worked. And, Apple made that a little more difficult to track people. So that made the ecosystem of Facebook less reliable. I couldn't just spend $1 and know that I'm getting 4 out. I would spend $1 and maybe get 2 out, maybe get 1.2 out. You don't know how much. And so it became very loose. So people are relying on influencer marketing because that old ad platform was not as reliable. So now they're going through guaranteed it's called affinity marketing, to where somebody has built up that endorsed traffic already, built the trust with the audience. They're going directly to the consumer through the influencer, as opposed to paying the Facebook tax of like, they'll hit you over the head with how much it costs ads. So again, it's like he might just not understand this side of the business, but to make a whole video and create a narrative as if this is proof, that's the greater issue that I have.
We are not in an influencer recession. I've been doing YouTube for 3 years. Since 2021 on the main channel.
3 years. I've been doing it for 8 years. I'm not trying to sun the man, but let's just hear his argument. He says he's been doing it for 3 years, and let's see. So that's after the pandemic.
Been doing YouTube for 3 years, since 2021 on the main channel. This year, especially the last like few months, have literally been the best months financially and views-wise in my channel's history. And not only am I getting...
All right, he said this year, but you guys just saw the stats I saw. Last 30 days, he grew 28%. But I don't know what his I would pull up the site, but it's super like glitchy on that website. Maybe it's just my screen, actually.
More views, I'm getting more brand deals. A lot of them I turn down because they're just absolute crap, or they try to have me promote weird products. So I'm probably not even going to do sponsorships, because every time I get a sponsorship, it's always something weird. It's never something cool like a t-shirt or a coffee mug. It's always something.
I mean, this is just, if he ends up watching this video somehow, the YouTube feeds it back to him. If you're getting weird sponsorship things, it's because you're not creating a target market. I don't know your channel. It's a young of a channel, but if you want to get sponsorships, you have to align with like a target audience that people are trying to, talk to. In my case, we target music producers and music creators. In your case, you might target, I don't know if your channel is more on hip hop. You might want to target like a hip hop audience. You have to have a very specific end target, because if you're reacting to whatever is like popping on YouTube, could be random markets. Excuse me. And as a brand, if I'm spending thousands of dollars with you, like $2,000 on a video, I need to know that I'm going to reach the people who will actually buy my thing, because my goal is to turn $2,000 into 4, into 8, into 10. And so the only way I know how to do that is by, investing in people who have the attention of my audience already, so that we don't have to go out and try to hunt people down, So that might be the issue as to why this guy is getting kind of random offers.
Something like, yeah, promote our magical drink that's going to make you mentally better or whatever. It's going to cure your depression, like just weird stuff, literally weird stuff. But anyway, so it's funny how they're saying that, but then you have articles that are literally contradicting what they are saying. So let's go ahead and get back to the video.
Like, it's going to be a rough time for like the next probably 2 years, but then I feel like it'll pick back up. But the cream of the crop, if you could survive the drought, then you become an authority in the space. And now when everybody else is
like I said earlier, what Rashad is talking about is you get a boom of people, and by natural selection, it chisels down to less people. And through competition, you get a small group of people who actually can survive after that big boom. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. The recession is getting rid of people. So in 2020, it went up. Everybody wanted to be a content creator, and then it went down because they went back to work. They realized they couldn't sustain being a content creator. So it rid a lot of the people who weren't really in this game. And then you have a deep decline in how many people started and, just stopped. And now you have the people who can survive that. It went up, it came down. Now it's like down here. Now, the people who can survive for that amount of time, those are the people he's talking about.
There's only going to be a few that are really...
Okay, so here's the other deal, too, with YouTube that I noticed, and I've talked to so many big YouTubers at this point, you wouldn't believe it. Seriously, I've talked to so many that have over 1 million subscribers. And what they all tell me is there's 2 ways to survive on YouTube. 2 ways. Number 1 is you have to pivot your content when necessary. If you notice,
so he says pivot your content when necessary. I can tell you it's the number 1 way to not build an audience. If I'm building a cooking channel, and then out of nowhere, I just say, now I want to talk about cars and mechanics, I just lost the cooking channel people. So in the beginning, because he's a young channel, so he doesn't understand like the greater picture maybe. So I don't want to speak to his knowledge of business or anything. But, just using logic and reasoning, we could say that, hey, if I'm attracting, kitchen, recipe type viewers, and I'm showing people how to make lasagna, okay, and different recipes in their kitchen, and then out of nowhere, I just start doing dog training videos, it might relate because you could say, okay, this is like household like content to where it's covering everything in the household. But if I go to car mechanics, that's a very big jump from people in the kitchen, okay, trying to make recipes. And you're going to lose the old audience, maybe to gain more of the new audience, the car mechanic audience. So all I'm saying is long-term building on YouTube, you have to focus on a total addressable market and just focus on that total addressable market. Make sure the total addressable market is big enough to where you could do this long-term. Your views might be up in the beginning, it might go down for some years, and then it goes up again. But it's the people who think that everything on YouTube is like this straight up into the sky trajectory that just constantly pivot to this, to that, because they're chasing the wind. The wind's going to blow that way. It's going to blow this way. It's going to blow that way. It's going to blow that way. You don't want to chase the win because then you'll end up with nothing at the end of the day.
You're not getting views or your views are slowing down, that means that people's interest has gone down. People are no longer interested in your content. So you have to figure out why, and you have to figure out a way to make content that makes people interested. The same thing actually happened to my channel. On my channel, I was doing finance drama and I noticed the views were going down, or the channel was just stagnant. It just got to a point where it was just stagnant. And there's two options. I either could have sat and got depressed and got upset and sad that my channel was no longer growing and the views were going down, or I could do option two, do something about it. I chose
Okay, so this is finance drama. So that's a very specific niche. The total addressable market might be 20,000 people, 200,000 people who even know who the characters are in that story. But once you start talking about Mr. Beast and I don't know all these people, I just see Mr. Beast's name on his screen. There's gazillions of people who know Mr. Beast versus the people who know Earn Your Leisure, for example. So that's going to be the difference, is the total addressable market.
to do something about it. I pivoted, and now 2024 has been the best year ever for the main channel. I think that's the mistake that Earn Your Leisure made. They just didn't pivot. They're still talking about finance and building wealth and all that, which before the pandemic, nobody cared about that. People cared about that for like 2 years during the pandemic. And then after that,
How's that true when they have 3,000 videos? Oh, goodness. His claims are so like out there that it's just funny. You guys got to realize too, like, again, he's an archetype of the person I'm talking about. I'm not speaking specifically to him only. I'm talking about people on YouTube who create these narratives, because he's saying like, the pandemic, of course, everything went up. But the point is that they stuck with their audience and their niche for a long time. And that's why they have so much authority. For example, for people who don't even know who Earn Your Leisure is watching this video, they have 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube, a growing podcast, multiple, and a network. And they just had an event in Atlanta, I believe, with tens of thousands of people. You cannot command an audience of tens of thousands of people if your brand is that small. You can't. Okay, they have authority, they have expertise, they have constant attention, even talking about finance.
wealth and all that, which before the pandemic, nobody cared about that. People cared about that for like 2 years during the pandemic. And then after that, people went back to not caring about that. Finance is just not a popular subject on YouTube. It just isn't.
All right, he says finance is not a popular topic on YouTube. Let's go to Google Keyword Planner and see how popular finance is. So what most people don't understand is YouTube is run off of basically people spending ad money. So if we understand the ad money behind this all, we can understand how YouTube grows. So it says here, for just the word finance, not even like specific words, it costs top of page bid is $2.12. Now that's important because a channel like Earn Your Leisure, if they study, if they focus on finance, what are some other words like finance, stocks, maybe credit, home buying, something like this. Let's see all the stats behind this. Okay, so the advertiser is paying, it looks like finance is the main keyword here with $2.12, which is insane. Per click, I believe this is measuring. In the top of page bid, the high range is $7. And the high range for home buying is $8. I think that's per click, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so that is a huge difference. Now let me type in the topics that I'm covering, for example. So just to show you guys the difference in revenue. So that's, again, $2 to $8, let's say, is their range. Now let's type in music production, just to talk about our niche specifically on this channel. Okay, so you have $3 and then going up to 16, but the traffic is way lower. It's only 10,000, which means multiply this times, what was it, 1 million for the word finance. So 10,000 times, I don't even know the math. What is that, times 10,000? 10,000 times 10,000, or is that 10,000 times 1,000? Times 100. Okay, so times this by 100. That would be the cost for the same results on finance would be $160 equivalency, just to give you guys an equivalent. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is that people with finance channels get paid a lot more than people with mostly any other topic, and that's because the cost per click for the advertiser is much higher. Okay, so again, $2 per click, up to $7 per click, and they get millions of views per month. Okay. Whereas something like music production, you might get 10,000 views in the month and only get, in this case, $3. That's still pretty high. But again, that's a very broad topic that's not really specifically targeted. Usually you're looking at 30 cents per click, 50 cents per click. It's nowhere near the finance channels. Okay. So when he says that, like the word finance is not popular, it's like it's one of the highest CPMs on YouTube. And YouTube pays creators based on the split. So if they get $10 for the advertising click, they'll pay you 40% or whatever. So they'll pay you $4 out of the $10 you just brought into the YouTube ecosystem. And that's how they pay out. So to say that these channels aren't getting paid and that they're falling off is just like beyond wrong. And if you go look up the yearly stats for Earn Your Leisure, for example, it says they have 52 million views in the year, and they're down about 50% or about 22 million views, which is about 30% compared to, I guess, the year before. And Echoes is up, 870,000 views, and it says that he's down 17% from his past year, I believe. Now, it looks like his channel has a peak back in, August 2023. And after that peak, like I told you guys, entertainment channels, they peak and they fall off. And I'm not wishing that upon his channel. I'm saying that it's very spiky. It's not a long tail growth. If you look at Earn Your Leisure, it's very dense and it keeps a line and it goes up slowly. Whereas entertainment stuff is very spiky, falls off, spike, falls off, spike, falls off, because it's based on what people want to talk about at that specific time. All right, so let's go back to this video. I'll let it kind of finish, but hopefully you guys can see, like, it took me 20 something minutes to break this down.
People cared about that for like 2 years during the pandemic. And then after that, people went back to not caring about that. Finance is just not a popular subject on YouTube. It just isn't. It's just not. It is what it is. Like, people just don't care about that. Also, YouTube is a young person's game. I'm not saying old people don't watch YouTube, but typically older people watch cable news, right? Like, look at my grandparents. My grandparents, I don't even know if
He's trying to equate finance to old people. I can guarantee you their audience is probably 18 to 34 at the biggest range. And that's, to me, that's young. Like, anybody below that, they don't have ad money to spend. So they're kind of irrelevant for a channel's growth, because they're not going to get paid any ad money because they don't have any money to spend. So it makes sense to target 18 to 34. So again, he's just saying things. And this bothers me because this is just one of thousands of people on YouTube doing this, and they call themselves creating content. This is like winging it based on nothingness, talking about a channel based on like perceived truths that are actually falsehoods. And then everybody else believes it. And then it keeps continuing that cycle.
grandma knows what YouTube is. Seriously, I don't even know if she knows what it is. But my grandparents don't ever watch YouTube ever. They don't know anything about YouTube. They don't watch YouTube. The only thing that they watch is cable news. So my point is saying that is typically an older audience cares about finance content, and a younger audience cares about the pranks and the commentary and the drama. You just got to understand those dynamics.
Because they don't have any money
YouTube.
to spend.
I think the biggest thing mistake they made is they didn't pivot. The other thing that I want to say too about Earn Your Leisure is in regards to the other thing I want to say is what the content creators that I've spoken to told me, like the big YouTubers that I've talked to. They also told me that the other way to survive on YouTube is you have to start some sort of Patreon or some sort of private group where basically...
Now, this I'll say is true as far as building a business that's sustainable. You guys got to use YouTube as a starting ground, get that revenue in, because it's awesome that this is the only platform that actually creates careers for people. And then take that revenue and start building up something else that you guys can control, like a membership program, some kind of training program. Like I have a lot of training materials, a sound company, whatever it is that your niche has, you want to create products and services that you guys can build a real business on. And then YouTube is your partner as far as bringing in new folks.
Your subscribers, once you build a big following, you take advantage of that momentum and you get them to subscribe to your Patreon, pay $5, $10, $15 a month. And then it gets to a point where your YouTube views don't matter too much anymore because you're making a crap ton of money off Patreon. I mean, for crying out loud, there are several content creators I know right now that are making $50,000 a month off their Patreon. I'm not joking. They have that many people on their Patreon that they're making $50,000 a month. And honestly, that's more sustainable than a 9 to 5. Like, that is beyond sustainable. If you can keep those people happy, keep them paying that monthly fee on your Patreon, you are more than good to go. Last thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit of context to what was said. Hold on, let me
I just find it funny that he's trying to add context to like stuff that doesn't even, he's like taking it out of context and he's like, all right, I want to add context. Again, I'm not here to bash this man. I don't know this guy. It's just one of thousands of examples, but this is so fresh because Earn Your Leisure just had Invest Fest like the other day or this past weekend.
I don't even remember what the timestamp was. Yeah, I don't remember. Well, I'm sorry, my my web browser refreshed, so I can't even like remember where I was at. But basically, they were kind of in this video. This is their actual channel where they talked about the influencer recession. This is another video where they talked about it. Unfortunately, the timestamp disappeared because it refreshed. But what happened was they were basically talking about the finance community and how the finance space has completely died. That's basically what that timestamp was going to tell you. The guy Rashad, who's in Earn Your Leisure, he was saying that the finance space has died. A lot of creators are no longer there anymore. A lot of people quit.
They're not saying it like finance is not popular. Again, it's going back to the point of everybody needed to be something during 2020. So they came out with their fake expertise or their half expertise and wanted to be the financial guru. That's what they're talking about. And they're saying over time, nature weeds out people who are just fakes. And now we have the real left. That's what they're saying. They're not saying that the topic of finance died. They're saying that these false leaders and false teachers have gone away.
left. And yeah, the views in that space dried up. And it's up to you as a content creator, somebody who's running a business that is reliant on staying relevant and making content. It's up to you to realize that, hey, this content's not popping anymore. Like, people don't really care for it that much. That's just what it is. So you got to pivot. You got to find other ways to keep yourself relevant, keep the views coming in. And ultimately, YouTube is all about.
And again, if y'all want examples of like finance channels, Graham Stephan, Andrew Jack, if I'm saying that right, Earn Your Leisure, Wall Street Trapper, Boyce Watkins. There's so many people getting crazy views on finance stuff. Meet Kevin, he has another channel. Now he's more news based, but it's kind of focused on finance underneath the hood. So like, again, that's a big, it's always been big. One of the primary motivators for humans is wealth, which is one of the first. It's health or, proliferation of genes. You have mastery, social status, and power. Wealth is always going to be a motivation. It's never going to not be a motivation for people.
Audience. That is the number one thing I've learned. A lot of people say, oh, YouTube shadow banning me. They don't like me. The algorithm hates me. They're cheating. The number one thing you got to understand is everything on YouTube is about the audience. How long is the audience watching your videos? How often are they clicking on your videos? Are they liking the videos? That is the number one most important thing. If you see people liking, commenting, viewing your videos more, watching longer, you are doing something right. If people are watching your videos less, they're not clicking on it as much, they're not really liking the videos as much, your views start to go down. That is literally the game of YouTube. You have to make.
I want to message this to all the future YouTubers who are even going to team up with me at some point when we expand the BusyWorks network. If you get focused on trying to one-up yourself every single video, you're going to go down a rabbit hole to where you won't even take risk anymore. Because what you'll do is, let's say your first video gets 100 views. Then you're like, okay, the next video has to be better. So it gets 200 views. Then the next video gets 500. Then the next video gets 1,000. Then the next video gets 2,000. And you think everything's supposed to be this like upward trajectory, like I said before. So you get to a point where, okay, your video gets 10,000 views in the first day. Now you don't take risks. You're going to be locked into a corner because you're like, okay, I don't want to pivot too much because then I'm risking this 10,000 that I already know works. So then you become creating around that same topic. And you see this happen in our producer community as well, with certain, people who left the producer community and went to do commentary videos. And guess what? They have to keep talking about one topic because now they're pinned into a corner to where they're trying to match the views. But the only way to do that is to talk about the same thing over and over and over and over and over, because they can't, there's no formula to that approach outside of just who's the fastest to the novelty. Okay. That's the problem with entertainment based channels, because it's unless you create a super glue underneath the hood as to what people are identifying with, it's going to be hard to chase the wind every single direction.
Make your audience happy. You work for the audience. That's just how it goes. Okay. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I love talking about YouTube and different things like that. I just think that Earn Your Leisure is dead wrong about this influencer recession. There is no influencer recession. Sure, the ad revenue has slowed down a little bit on YouTube, but there's a wider reason why that is. But besides the ad revenue.
Again, I think he might be trying to, talk his way through some of the things that happened on his channel specifically. Again, I don't know Echoes from Above. Never talked to him, never met him. He's just one example of what I've been seeing on YouTube. But this is so fresh because I respect Earn Your Leisure for their InvestFest, for everything they've done. Like their podcast, Market Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern time, are just huge for just soaking up like the words needed to understand the stock market and what's happening and the CPI and the earnings calls, and like Wall Street Trapper is important for that. Boyce Watkins, listen to him daily. You gotta absorb a lot of the language until it becomes like, oh, I know what they're talking about now. I know what this means. I know what earnings means. And now I know what that means to the actual stock. Can it go up a lot or down a lot? Now I know what CPI reports are, inflation. Not that you understand everything about everything, but it becomes a second language. And all I'm saying is, to the young YouTubers, just please be more accurate if you guys are going to be making these claims about big brands like this, because you guys, for the most part, have not been accurate. You don't have sources, and you're just speaking from an ignorant stance. Maybe you need more experience. Maybe that's the issue. But what do you guys think in the comments below? Is this enhancing your experience on YouTube? Is it not enhancing it? Let me know, because I do know, here's my last point, is that Grand Theft Auto 6 is a game that's out on, or coming out pretty soon. I was so excited about the game that I didn't care if the news was true or if it was made up. I didn't care if the dude was just making up or if it was true. So I didn't care because I'm going to buy the game eventually anyway. So I was like, I knew the dude was making up stuff, but I still watched his videos about Grand Theft Auto 6. So let me know if you guys actually care or not. Maybe people want to hear random stories. I don't know. Just let me know what you guys think below. It's Game from BusyWorksBeats.com.